Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TrumpTyranny Tracker. It's 2 p.m., just after 2 p.m., I should say, and I'm late, so I'm sorry I'm late, but Olga's here on time, as always, the creator and author of the TrumpTyranny Tracker. We're just talking about what's going to be happening tonight at 8 p.m. when we're doing our next edition of our summer seminar series about authoritarianism 101. And Olga, what are we doing tonight, actually?
So tonight we're going to focus on executive emergency powers and executive overreach. Basically showing everything that Russia has done, Hungary has done, and Trump is doing to bypass judicial and legislative branches. So that's going to be the main focus.
And people can still sign up if they want to until 7 p.m. No later than 7, because Olga doesn't like it when people arrive late, like I have just now. But you can sign up until 7 p.m. and you can find the link on either the TrumpTyranny Tracker or Unmasking Russia, or I'll have it up on Narativ.org after this TrumpTyranny Tracker. And everyone's really welcome. These are great conversations, and we land up talking to everybody. Really, everyone has a chance to speak or wants to speak about what it's like in their neck of the woods, and we discuss all aspects of the thing we're talking about that day, or what's going on in their neighborhoods in general, as authoritarianism takes hold in America. On the TrumpTyranny Tracker today, it's day 177.
It's 176 recap for yesterday's.
Right. But today's 177. All right. Yeah. I'm on track now. I've got myself caught up. I'll move this microphone out of the way.
We're a little flustered today. I'm with you.
It happens. Let's begin with Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who's refusing to release months of emails between his office and Elon Musk or Musk's companies. Despite a public record request, his office claims the emails contain intimate and embarrassing material. This is unusual. I mean, it's unbelievable that there's some conversations going on between Abbott and Musk that are intimate in nature. What do you think he's talking about?
It is very interesting, but basically what happened is that ProPublica requested emails and all communications between Texas officials and Musk to see, what actually what's behind Musk opening his SpaceX alley and taking over. So they requested these communications, and this is the response they got from Abbott's office. Despite, the fact that if you are handing part of territory to a billionaire and his companies, I mean, this should be a transparent thing. I mean, and the fact that, Abbott is refusing to hand over these communications is, just showed you how the Republican Party operates. The embarrassing stuff that I would honestly, I hope ProPublica gets the emails, because I'm not sure what he's referring to when this was a deal with moving SpaceX and handing them that territory there. So
that is really unusual.
Maybe there's more going on there. I'm not sure what it is.
Well,
the fact is, I mean, in a democracy, transparency is key. And there's a reason that contracts and communications, how contracts are set up, are made available to the people, because at the end of the day, we are paying these people's salaries.
I wonder what the financial arrangements really were at the end of the day to allow him to do that big move of all of these companies to Texas, because it was a significant shift and he got huge tax breaks. But maybe what they're saying is that maybe some of those haven't even been made public in terms of this email correspondence. That's really an interesting story. I hope ProPublica sticks with it and gets to all the details.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, they're a very good operation. Moving to federal agencies, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is now asking job applicants how they would advance Trump's executive orders, sparking backlash over loyalty tests at an agency meant to be independent. Trump is pushing to expedite nuclear plant approvals and overhaul the NRC through executive directives, and the internal personal change and internal personnel changes. This represents a direct assault on the independence of the agency. This is really unusual. Loyalty tests at the nuclear agency. What's next?
This is, goes to the bigger picture that every week we're finding out that not only are they purging, existing career officials, but they are replacing them with, people having to fill out these loyalty tests, loyalty exams, and frankly, how they will, carry out Trump's extreme agenda. And I mean, it just goes to the bigger picture because, like, every week I'm documenting another agency, whether it be the Parks Department, how will you how will you fulfill Trump's agenda? What do you think of his agenda? These are questions. I mean, these are supposed to be nonpartisan servants. And this is what we are, receiving in the process, that they are forced to take these loyalty tests in order to get into the government.
His agenda changes every day as well. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that clear to anybody what it is. So if you're applying to any of these departments, I mean, you could be saying one thing one day and it means something completely different the next day because he's changed policy. So, that's the way he likes to govern. So it's really strange that he's pursuing this.
That's the thing, that it's basically the key is how will you serve his agenda, regardless of what it is. Whether it changes, how will you serve his agenda? And obviously we see that they prefer people not only who are MAGA, but also ones who will basically, have no issues with not carrying out unlawful acts. So.
I wonder if there are examples online of where people have got posted cheat sheets of what to answer for these particular questions. It's one of these exams you should really crib.
I should go apply and see what happens.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So you're completely loyal.
Yes, very.
The Trump administration has also fired 15 more immigration judges last week, bringing the total to over 65 dismissed during their probationary periods since Trump returned to office. Those firings coincide with Trump's acceleration of mass deportations and his push for quicker case resolutions. The systematic removal of judicial oversight in immigration proceedings eliminates due process, obviously, and protection for millions of people. This is what's going on with immigration is just unbelievable. It's just such a travesty.
It really is, and it just shows you that their concern has never been about due process. Because if you are concerned with actually, dealing with undocumented immigrants in this country, you would hire more judges so they can resolve the cases quicker, and then, decide whether someone can have asylum or someone qualifies, for to remain in this country. The fact that they're firing the immigration judges shows you they have no concern over, having any resolution over the Constitution, over due process, over frankly anything. I mean, this is a lawless regime. This is all it is.
And firing these judges
into the story, it's the next story.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's move on to the next one, which is a coordinated campaign has been led by the Jefferson Council and aided by Trump's DOJ, has forced the resignation of UVA President James E. Ryan over his support for DEI programs. This probably isn't the story you meant. Maybe it is. DOJ officials, including appointee Gregory Brown, flooded the university with legal threats, echoing talking points from conservative activists. This represents the weaponization of federal law enforcement to target educational institutions that don't conform to Trump's ideological agenda. That's not the story you meant.
Not the story.
But tell us about the story. It's an interesting story.
Yeah, but basically, this is extremely troubling because you have a extremist far-right think tank center, basically, working with Department of Justice hand in hand to remove the president of a university. I mean, I don't think we've ever had this in this country.
Right.
And the fact that this is, just one case, what else will these extremist think tanks, work with our federal agencies? On what other agenda? So, I mean, this in itself, I mean, I was reading it yesterday when I documented it. I was like, oh my God, this is, I mean, besides the fact that we have Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 embedded in all of our agencies. But here, the fact that they're coordinating and have targets and say, we want this president of a university gone. And it could be not just for universities, it could be for any organization, any company, and then to work alongside one of our federal agencies to carry this out, which ended up that he resigned because of the pressure, that was put on him and the threats to the university of investigations. I mean, this is frankly reprehensible. This is lawless again, reprehensible, and not how our agencies are supposed to function.
And really reminiscent of what happened in Hungary. Isn't this exactly what happened in Hungary with all those Soros universities? They really iced them out in a very similar way. They sort of got into every institution. It's really troubling. The story you were referring to is all about a new ICE memo that ordered agents to detain undocumented immigrants for the duration of their removal proceedings, eliminating their ability to request bond hearings. This sweeping policy applies to millions, including longtime residents with no criminal history, and follows a $45 billion expansion to double detention capacity. The elimination of due process protections creates a pathway to indefinite detention without judicial review. This is unbelievable.
So this is how that story ties into the previous, how at the same time that they are firing immigration judges, slowing down an actual, date to get a hearing, they are now putting out a memo to detain millions of people. To hold them indefinitely. I mean, this is so disgusting. I don't even have words for how angry I am that, this is happening in this country and that people are literally stripped of their due process. And now we are talking about millions of people who will be affected.
This really should be front page news on every newspaper, on every news network right now, because this is so important to everybody. I mean, this indefinite detention is concentration camps, basically. What else do you need except this due process taken away to make these concentration camps actual concentration camps? If they can't get due process and they can't get access to judges, guess what? They're there for a long time and they're not coming out. And there's already been a sort of a way they've been able to do it. I was researching a story in Louisiana where a lot of Russians are actually housed in sort of indefinite immigration proceedings, so they just don't get their immigration hearings never come up. They just get delayed. This sounds like it's making that kind of delay, which was also seemed to go on indefinitely, but it's making it into the rule that you can stay there as long as they deem necessary. Wow, that is unbelievable. That cannot happen in America. This is a really troubling thing because you will see people disappear into there and never come out.
And this is what the Florida thing is. It's an internment camp. They are targeting brown people, or any brown people, whether you are a green card holder here on asylum, have TPS status, or are undocumented. As long as you're brown, they are grabbing brown people because I don't see them grabbing white Russians. I don't see them grabbing Europeans. I mean, you have a case here and there, but for the most part, you see these ICE agents going to Latino neighborhoods. So they are grabbing brown people, which will tie into the next story. Hopefully,
there's also NATO members whose residents have been caught at the border. They're also being sent to these same camps. I mean, it's not the exact same ones.
That's for external, for domestic interior. They are not going to Brighton Beach. They are not going to any other, neighborhood, a Polish neighborhood or any other Eastern European.
But the ICE facilities are the same facilities. I mean, the people that are caught by the Canadians caught at the border are being sent to the same facilities. So they're stuck in there for weeks at a time too. And if they don't have due process either. Wow, these are not. That's not a racial breakdown at all. I mean, but you're right about. Of course, they're going to Latino neighborhoods to raid people.
Every Canadian, there is 100 Latinos.
Yeah,
So it's the point here is that they are specifically targeting. If you see where they are going across the interior, they are specifically targeting brown people. And this is racial profiling on steroids. They'll tie into the next story because this happened in New York, and literally my blood pressure rose when I saw this story.
And I'm not sure what that next story is because I'm not sure I have it here, but let me find. I think I've got it here. So this is a youth baseball coach intervenes after ICE agents in New York City approach members of his team during practice. Oh my gosh. So during a July 3rd practice in Riverside Park, 6 ICE agents approached a youth baseball team and began questioning players about their origins and parents. Coach Yeoman Wilder, who has a law degree, intervened, instructed the kids to stay silent, and cited their constitutional rights, prompting a heated response from one officer. These kids were practicing baseball and Riverside Park.
In Manhattan.
That's where I used to live, right there.
In Manhattan, you have American kids. U.S. citizen kids, Americans. A bunch of brown kids who are playing baseball. ICE walking or driving by, sees these kids. Again, this is why I say this is racial profiling. Sees these kids. They're not going to stop white kids playing baseball and approach them and ask, where are you from? Who are your parents? Are you here illegally? No, they targeted brown kids who are American kids. And I know this park very well. And they approached them and started questioning them. And the coach had to, intervene, told the kids, go over there, dealt with the ICE agents, and basically, told them, like, what are you doing? Like, you have no right to stop at a baseball practice and ask kids who their parents are, where are they from.
Yeah, I used to live right next to that park, and I used to cycle all the way up to where those baseball practice was. And I mean, you talk about a place which was a community place where kids who are otherwise might be in tough situations in some neighborhoods are going to play sports and connect with their community and doing good, positive work and for their schools. And here they are being approached by ICE agents while playing school sports and playing after school sports. This is nonsensical, especially at that particular park. I mean, this is like, it's a typical. It's like one of these landmark parks in New York City. It's like they can't be arresting people like that for playing sports. It's unbelievable. And it's this quota system. The reason why they've got all these, they have a requirement to get 3,000 people in these camps every day. That quota system is so they can fund these private, Eric Prince camps basically, and they need those people in there. So they're going to arrest people, throw people in there for these unusual situations and keep them there indefinitely now so they can keep these numbers up. That is unbelievable. What has happened?
It's disgusting because, again, and this is why I say, they are specifically targeting Latino people because you don't see them approaching kids in a white park. Frankly, the fact that ICE has a directive to approach children is honestly, it's appalling. I mean, this is what are you doing? We're
interrogating them with parents.
If you want to, detain people, you have like the proper way that ICE used to function. Frankly, though, I've had my issues with ICE, from Trump 1.0 and the horrors I saw. But the way they're supposed to function is they're supposed to have a list, a targeted list, not drive around neighborhoods and say, oh, look, brown people, let's go detain them or question them and harass them. And that's it. And the fact that this happened to kids playing baseball.
It's unbelievable. It's apartheid on steroids. It really is. I mean, this is a permission to go and harass people just because they're a certain color. And these people are part of communities where their parents are providing for real jobs, real taxpayers, real life in America and real life in these cities. And for them to be targeted in this way is shameful. And then to have no due process, as you're pointing out in the previous story, is a travesty. I've been looking for one of those things at 180 days where you could say, this is really, we've jumped the shark here. We've really landed up in a totalitarianism. This no due process and this indefinite imprisonment is about this closest thing as we've had so far, where you're looking at something which is just as terrifying as Nazi Germany or any of those places where people could disappear, and Russia, where people get disappeared and never come back. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, Russia's not that lawless, I could tell you. They're
Yeah.
not going to target a park of kids, I can tell you that. I mean, at least they have some kind of, pretense that they keep up publicly.
Yeah.
But no, it is. And again, as I keep saying, immigrants, and yesterday I wrote an article,
Great piece.
immigrants are the test case because this is going to expand to everyone. Right now, it's undocumented immigrants and green card holders and TPS and asylum seekers, and then it's going to go to naturalized citizens. So this is, undocumented immigrants is the test case. And as I point out in the article, the fact that they want to, denaturalize people, and this is the top 5 priority in Department of Justice. There are 25 million people in this country who are directly naturalized. And then I'm sure if you add all the figures, if maybe they were born here, but their parents are naturalized, this will sweep up a large amount of people in this country.
And they're building the beds for that capacity. And then you don't really know what happens after they get in there because you don't know where people are going to get sent to. Everyone should read your article. It is really a brilliant article. I restacked it yesterday, and everyone needs to be reading that piece. It's fantastically written, and it's the 5-alarm fire that we should be raising right now, because this is what's happening with our American democracy.
And in the article, the reason I meant to write it, but that he's also targeting Rosie O'Donnell. So you have now an American-born citizen that he's floating legally. He can't, but he's lawless. So, I mean, who knows? But you have an American citizen now born here that they're targeting to strip citizenship. So this is the whole point. It starts with the most vulnerable that have the least amount of rights, and then moves eventually to American citizens, as he has floated, sending American-born citizens to gulags in El Salvador or to Sudan or, wherever the hell. I mean,
well, with these processes, we don't know, if there's no process, you can't appeal to a judge, tough luck if you're Rosie O'Donnell and you land up in one of these concentration camps,
Luckily, she moved, but I mean, anyone can get picked up. And then what? You're going to be stuck in a gulag abroad, while someone here for half a year, it makes its way through courts to try to get you back. I mean, who's going to give you your life back?
Yeah, exactly. There's appalling conditions. And, MAGA, if they're satisfied with their, best and brightest and all these critics that have been Trump critics being sent across, leaving the country, basically, the drain brain that's going to exist because of the fear that this kind of policy is going to institute. I mean, who hasn't criticized Donald Trump? I mean, it's like anyone with half a brain has done that in the last few years. So this is really...
Including MAGA.
Yeah, including MAGA right now. Well, this is really everyone should read that article. I restacked it yesterday, but but I'll do it again through the actual mailing list. And everyone should share it with everybody you know. It's really one of those articles that everyone needs to read, because people need to understand that this is happening right now. That's it for Trump.
These aren't hypotheticals. These are not hypotheticals. This is not, it may happen. This is happening right as we speak.
Olga, this is why I love your work so much, because it focuses on things on a daily basis, and we can see how these things develop every single day on the TrumpTyranny Tracker. And we've all had this 180 in our minds for a few weeks now, and it makes me very aware that we're here. We've arrived at a point where it's very hard to turn where we're going back to where we were. So people really need to start focusing on what this means. The TrumpTyranny Tracker and Unmasking Russia are your 2 blogs. Everyone should join them on Substack and support Olga's work. And then at 8 p.m. tonight, we'll be back with our Authoritarianism 101, which is our 7th edition of this seminar. And I'm really looking forward to everyone being there tonight. Please sign up until 7 p.m. And if you haven't been to any of the previous ones, join in anyhow, because it's This is a five-alarm fire that's happening around our country, and this is a great way to get under the basics of what authoritarianism is, how it's affecting you, and how it's affecting your communities. Every single week we look at one of these aspects, and it's really worth everyone's while.
Yes, that definitely does excellent work. Yes.
And you can find my stuff at narativ.org, narativ.org. People have asked me when I'm doing the next Epstein episode. We'll probably do it this Friday, but we'll figure out the details coming up soon. It's a really fascinating one and includes some of Olga's research about Epstein's ties to Russia. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we can update the original episodes and update them with new information regarding his ties to Russia and Israel. It makes it a really compelling
my
TV.
focus is always on Russia.
Yeah,
look, elsewhere I saw the Israeli ties very clearly.
Yeah.
But my main focus was seeing who Russia sent in his circle, what they're doing, and whatnot. So
what I love about this collaboration always is that, you get these different specialties and everyone adds so much to the body of work. And so, we're able to see now that Russia and Israel have a very long-standing alliance in many ways when it comes to some intelligence issues and when it comes to American policy. And that's important for people to realize. I don't think a lot of people realize that, So some people did, but it's certainly good to see how it actually works in practice, especially with operatives like Epstein and the like who are, doing some nefarious things.
And interestingly, they have different avenues because there's always a push and pull between Israel and Russia, only because of the fact that historically, Russia, going back to the Soviet Union, I mean, they recruited Arafat in 1960s. They recruited Abbas in around late 60s or 70s. So Russia has always historically supported the Palestinians, and has provided Hamas, since Hamas's founding. The Soviet Union still existed. I believe Hamas was founded like 86, 87, somewhere around there. So, I mean, they've always been enemies, Israel and Russia, but they've always there have been cases where they've shared operatives, and these operatives were working as double, in some cases triple agents.
Especially since the 80s, when so many Soviet people moved to Israel, and the Russians started realizing they had a real outpost now in the Middle East, where 20% of the population was Russian. Maybe they weren't as loyal as other Russians, but there were still Russian-speaking people, and they could be influenced in that way, and they started thinking of it as an outpost. And Putin very smartly
in actually the 70s with the Jackson Vanic Amendment, where we all left and had a choice, while waiting to pick United States or Israel. So all Soviet Jews had to go, most of them went through Czechoslovakia, waited in Italy. And then we had to pick or apply to both countries. In our case, we just applied to America. So that's when it started. And then, of course, the KGB started infiltrating Mossad and other agencies there. And then they sent eventually Mogilevich in the late 80s to set up base there and further compromise and infiltrate people. So it's a fascinating dynamic between...
Robert Maxwell's in that whole story as well, by the way.
Robert Maxwell was a double agent. He worked both for Mossad and for the KGB. He was very close to a Khrushchev. I mean, to the point that he could just walk into his office.
And Mogilevich's business partner. Yeah, and it ended up being Mogilevich's business partners. And of course, that's Epstein's, I would say, father-in-law, but it's almost like his father-in-law, just as obviously Ghislaine Maxwell's father. So, the ties there are very, very close between Epstein, Maxwell, KGB, and also Israeli intelligence. So that's a complete sidebar that we just went through. We'll see everybody again tonight at 8 p.m. and we look forward to seeing you all. And have a great afternoon, Olga, and have a great afternoon, everyone else. And thanks for being here.
You have your thing at
5 stack. 28 minutes. I better get to work. Lots to do between now and 3 o'clock. I better get ready for Dean. So everyone should please join us then. We'll see everybody then. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.